No list of countercultural icons would be complete without LSD advocate Dr. Timothy Leary, who has taken on a quasi-mythical status. Here we present his origins, his mission, and his connections to other notable figures in the late 20th century avant-garde. Leary claimed with great irony to have been conceived the day after alcohol prohibition went into effect in 1920. He was born in Springfield, Massachusetts. His father expected to inherit a family fortune, but was disappointed to learn there was hardly any money left. Leary's father was mostly absent and led an unconventional life, which had an influence on young Timothy. He was raised a strict Catholic and became an altar boy, but left his faith early in life. His appetites for alcohol and women got him into trouble in school. He resigned from West Point and was discharged from the University of Alabama. He managed to obtain a PhD in psychology from UC Berkeley and wrote many papers on the study of personality types. This field is notable today for the Myers-Briggs test. Leary began to cheat on his wife, whose depression led her to commit suicide by leaving the car running inside the garage with the door closed. Leary left for Europe to contemplate the future. While in Spain, he lunched with a well-known professor of psychology who offered him a job teaching at Harvard. Leary accepted the position and brought his 2 children to Cambridge. While on vacation in Mexico, Leary was offered psilocybin in the form of so-called magic mushrooms. He and his colleagues incorporated the psychedelic experience into their academic research at Harvard. In this period, Leary met Aldous Huxley, author of Brave New World. Huxley had taken and written about the effects of psychedelics. He participated in the study at Harvard. In his most famous novel, Huxley's future government required its citizens to take a mind-altering drug called soma. The novelist died on November 22, 1963, the day of the JFK assassination. After a colleague gave him his first dose of LSD, Leary refocused his research on that more potent drug, abandoning psilocybin. His research projects involved administering the drug to graduate students under controlled conditions and studying their reactions. The popularity of the program grew, with many willing participants vying for a few designated slots. LSD was first synthesized in 1943 by Swiss chemist Albert Hofmann, who pioneered the acid experience while riding home from the laboratory on a bicycle. The CIA learned of the drug and tried to weaponize it, but failed. Details of the agency's study of the drug in the famous MK Ultra program were revealed in 1977 Senate hearings led by Senator Ted Kennedy. When Leary began serious research into the effects of LSD, the drug was still legal. He began to promote the drug to powerful people. He found willing takers in Hollywood and Washington, D.C. While in the Capitol, he was approached by a woman who wanted him to teach her how to run LSD-taking sessions in order to obtain information from prominent men. This woman, Mary Pinchot Meyer, was later revealed to be a mistress of JFK, who had convinced the president to take LSD. She was found shot to death in a canal area of D.C. in October of 1964, making her an important element in many JFK assassination conspiracy theories. As the Leary LSD sessions continued, one Harvard professor formed the opposition to Leary's research group. This professor, Dr. Kellman, allegedly received funding for his own research from the CIA. While Leary and associates were arranging an LSD summer camp in Mexico, he received word that he had been fired, the first Harvard professor to be discharged since Ralph Waldo Emerson. Leader of the Transcendentalist literary movement, Emerson was fired by Harvard in 1838 for urging students to abandon organized religion and to find God their own way. After leaving Harvard, Leary moved his operation to a mansion in Millbrook, New York, about 30 miles north of Manhattan. The mansion attracted a host of counterculture figures, including Ken Kesey. Kesey traveled the country in an old bus conducting mass LSD sessions he called acid tests. He later wrote the novel One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which was made into a movie starring Jack Nicholson. Leary testified before a congressional committee to argue against the prohibition of LSD. On October 6, 1966, the drug was criminalized in the United States, leading some occult-minded individuals to remark on the 666 contained in the date. Leary began to appear at large festival settings, such as San Francisco's Human Bee Inn in 1967, featuring Allen Ginsburg and the Grateful Dead. Targeting the young, he popularized the phrase, turn on, tune in, and drop out, in psychedelic rebellion against what he believed was a sick modern society. President Richard Nixon declared Timothy Leary the most dangerous man in America. Leary found himself in increasing trouble with the law. His mansion in Millbrook was raided more than once by G. Gordon Liddy. Liddy later made his name as the lead Watergate burglar who, rather than incriminate his fellows, accepted a long prison sentence. After getting busted in Texas and later in Orange County, California, Leary was sentenced to 20 years in prison. Serving time at a medium-security penal colony in San Luis Obispo, California, he escaped with the help of the Weathermen Underground. The Weather Underground was a left-wing terrorist group that planted bombs as a means of political protest. Two of its founders were later revealed as supporters and associates of President Barack Hussein Obama. The Weathermen representatives dyed Leary's hair and gave him fake documents, enabling him to fly out of the country. Despite an international manhunt, Leary landed in Paris and then flew to Algeria, where he was to stay with expatriate Black Panthers at their mansion. Eldridge Cleaver was a Black Panther revolutionary leader who, after a shootout with police in Oakland, had skipped bail and flown to Cuba and on to Algeria. Leary's stay in Algeria did not last long. He flew to Switzerland, where he was allowed to stay for several months with support from a renowned international arms dealer. Eventually, the Swiss government said Leary had to leave. He knew a man from a prominent family in Afghanistan who offered safe living quarters. Unfortunately, after arriving in Kabul, US DEA agents captured him and flew him back to Los Angeles by way of Frankfurt, Germany, and London. In Folsom Prison, an interesting countercultural crossover took place, as Leary found himself in the cell next to Charles Manson. The two talked at length, but Leary reckoned his own philosophy to be much more life-centered compared to the death-based outlook of Manson. In 1975, after Jerry Brown was elected governor of California, Leary was paroled. Federal authorities helped him settle near Santa Fe, New Mexico, but eventually they stopped trying to hide him. He moved to Los Angeles. In the closing years of his life, Leary made various public appearances, several, oddly enough, with G. Gordon Liddy, who had arrested him at his New York estate years earlier. Throughout his life, Leary made references to the English occultist and drug addict Aleister Crowley, who wrote, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law." Leary's worldview proved strikingly similar. He died in 1996 of cancer. One notable quote from Leary regarding his first LSD trip reads, "Since that time I have been acutely aware that everything within and around me is a creation of my own consciousness." Whether you agree or disagree, Timothy Leary's eventful life of LSD evangelism makes him a counterculture icon for the ages.